eyes are on the market this morning after they plunged in reaction to President Trump's announcement of a sweeping new round of tariffs.
Yeah, I spent my whole weekend switching between basketball and this economy. The Dow lost more than 2,000 points Friday. It was only the fourth time in history that's happened. And the CEO of one of the country's largest banks is speaking out this morning. Jamie Dimon, head of JP Chase, says the tariffs will likely increase inflation and are causing many to consider a greater probability of recession. And he also talks about America's dominance in the world and the issue with that.
Yeah, his firm says there's a 60% chance of a recession right now. Over the weekend, a blanket 10% tariff on most imported goods went into effect. On top of that, on Wednesday, more Trump tariffs ranging from 10 to 50% will go into effect, hitting more than 180 countries and territories. But President Trump is holding firm overnight and this morning. We have team coverage across the globe. Whit Johnson starts us off from Wall Street. Good morning, Whit.
Hey, George, good morning to you. Yes, the market's about to open here a little bit later on this morning, and already U.S. futures nosediving after last week's historic lows. So here's what we're seeing right now so far. The Dow futures down around 700 points, the NASDAQ down about 315 points, and the S&P futures, that's where millions of Americans have their 401ks, retirement savings invested, down about 100 points. All of this signaling another difficult day here on Wall Street after trillions of dollars were wiped off the board at the end of last week. And when the markets closed on Friday, that was the worst week since 2020 during the early days of the pandemic and at the end of the president's first term in office. So already this morning, we're seeing markets plunging across the board in Asia and Europe. Plenty of anxiety now about what comes next, guys.
And Whit, over the weekend, some of the president's allies in the investment community called for a pause in these tariffs. But so far, he's holding firm as late as this morning.
Exactly, and that's causing some of this concern here, the uncertainty about what's about to happen. Not only what the president is saying, but the administration downplaying the effects of last week's sell-off, also the impact of these tariffs. They're also saying that they plan to continue implementing more tariffs that they have scheduled for this week, and downplaying the recession fears, saying that they are unwarranted. But we know a lot of analysts feel very differently. We heard from the head of one of America's largest banks earlier this morning, JP, which again also increased the odds of a recession in the U.S. to 60%. George.
A lot more questions than answers right now. Okay, Whit, thanks very much. Michael?
All right, thank you, George. We're going to get more on the international ripple effect. First, foreign correspondent Britt Clinton is in Hong Kong for us this morning. Good morning, Britt.
Good morning, Michael. Well, carnage here in Asia underscoring really how truly interconnected the U.S. economy is with the rest of the world. Asian stocks taking a nosedive with President Trump overnight saying investors will have to take their medicine and saying he would not do a deal with China until the U.S. trade deficit was sorted out. Hong Kong leading the sell-off with a massive 13.2%. That's the worst drop since 1997. Shares across the board in South Korea and Japan and China also seeing red. And this morning, many analysts say the risks of a long and intense trade war are rising rapidly. China has already retaliated, slapping a 34% tariff on American products. And it's not just tariffs. China is also cutting off the U.S. from many exports that include materials critical to technology and national security. Markets here will continue to have eyes fixed on Washington. Rebecca?
All right, Britt, thank you. And you point out just how interconnected our economy is with the rest of the world. So we go now to London with how the European markets are reacting, and we go to Chief International Correspondent James Longman for more. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, Rebecca. European markets opened way down this morning, a 16-month low as Trump's tariffs starts to bite. We're seeing a mass sell-off of shares as fears grow about a global recession. Now, European markets are still trading. They are for the next couple of hours, but the London Exchange opened more than 5% down this morning. I think it has rallied a couple of points, but still down. On the continent, things are even worse. In Italy, it opened more than 7% down. France, 5%, and Germany, 6%. And that is in addition to the losses they took last week when Donald Trump announced these measures. And it's not just tariffs. The car industry here is really concerned about that 25% tariff on all car imports into the United States. That threatens hundreds of thousands of jobs in Europe. Michael?
All right, James, thank you. And, you know, the stock market drop, that does not appear to be changing the president's mind. Our senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott, is tracking the latest at the White House. Good morning, Rachel.
Michael, good morning to you. Yes, even as the markets tumble and Americans brace for higher prices, no change in strategy here from the White House. The president insists that his policies will work. His message to Americans, hang tough. It won't be easy. President Trump out of sight and on the golf course this weekend, sharing this video on his social media before returning to the White House, insisting he's not backing down from his sweeping tariffs that have sparked fears of a recession and sent the market spiraling.
Now, what's going to happen with the market, I can't tell you, but I can tell you our country has gotten a lot stronger.
The president asked if there's any pain he's unwilling to tolerate.
I think your question is so stupid. I mean, I think it's I don't want anything to go down. But sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something.
A 10% tariff is now in effect for nearly all goods entering the U.S. and a 25% tariff on all foreign cars. In just a matter of days, a harsher 34% reciprocal tariff hitting China, 46% on Vietnam, and 20% on the European Union. All of this expected to raise prices on everything from clothing to electronics to alcohol. The president dismissing concerns that his policies will cause inflation to rise.
When we get into late summer, early fall, and people are doing their back-to-school shopping, do you think they'll have inflation to worry about at that point?
I think there's not going to be. I don't think inflation is going to be a big deal.
The president says world leaders have called trying to make a deal, but some of our closest trading partners retaliated. Canada putting a 25% tariff on American-made cars and trucks. China responding with a 34% tariff, then suddenly halting an emerging TikTok deal with the U.S.
China changed the deal because of tariffs. If I gave a little cut in tariffs, they'd approve that deal in 15 minutes, which shows you the power of tariffs.
Some Republicans are sounding the alarm. Senator Ted Cruz saying this on his podcast.
If we're in a scenario 30 days from now, 60 days from now, 90 days from now, with massive American tariffs and massive tariffs on American goods in every other country on earth, that is a terrible outcome.
The trade war adding to the outrage from coast to coast. 1,200 rallies taking place in all 50 states, thousands marching in New York, Detroit, Los Angeles, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. to protest the Trump administration. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be traveling to Washington today. He will be meeting with President Trump at the White House in just a few hours as the United States moves forward with plans to impose a 17% tariff on Israel by the end of the week, George.
Okay, Rachel, thanks. Let's bring in our chief Washington correspondent, John Carl. And John, we just saw the president right there doubling down on the tariffs. He's believed in tariffs for a long time, but now facing some rare dissent from Republicans.
George, for the first time since Trump has gotten back to the White House, we are seeing prominent Republicans in Congress directly criticize his actions. People, as you heard, like Ted Cruz, like Rand Paul. In fact, I don't see many Republican leaders coming forward to defend what Donald Trump has done. The reason here is simple. Trump is not just gambling with the American economy here. He is putting Republican political fortunes at risk. We see some of the biggest stock market declines since the Great Depression, dire warnings of a recession, of inflation, and not because of outside forces like a pandemic, but because of the direct actions of the Republican president. Rand Paul, for one, is predicting dire consequences for his party if this goes forward. Dire consequences, he says, that could take years to overcome.
Some Republicans also questioning whether the president has the legal authority to impose these tariffs that he has imposed, and these legal challenges are coming.
George, this is important. There will be legal challenges to these tariffs, possibly by the end of the week. I spoke to a prominent Republican, a conservative legal figure last night. This is somebody close to the president who told me that he believes that the Supreme Court would likely declare the president's actions unconstitutional. The issue here is the authority he has cited, that the Emergency Power Act that he has cited does not explicitly give him the right to impose tariffs. And also, the big question is, what is the emergency that he is solving in imposing these tariffs?
John Carl, thanks very much.